my hood's tucked inside. I hate that when it touches my back. Ew, get out. Ew, stop.
What's up, guys? Same day, different jacket. Part 2.
Alright. Hold on. This is part 2 of my horrible, awful dates video story time. I hope you enjoyed my last video. You guys seem to want to see the part 2. So here it is. So, normally I try to change names in my storytime videos, give privacy to the other people, but in this instance, I mean, I want you to like get the full effect, and I can't do that if I hold back this person's name. So, I went on a date with this guy, and his name was literally James Bond. That was his name. Like, I was gonna try to change it, but whatever, fuck it. His name was fucking James Bond. So I've been talking to this guy online when I was about 18, I think, for a little bit, and we decided to meet up and go out. I don't know why, but I always got swindled into like driving to pick up these guys. Like, they never came and picked me up. Like, I should have put my foot down and be like, no, you couldn't get me and take me out, but I always ended up driving to them. So I went to go like 2 towns over to pick up this guy, and I couldn't find his house, and so the whole date started off horribly. I drove into this little driveway at the bottom of the hill that was like right next to the lake, and it wasn't the right place, and like this old man was outside, like all these people were outside, and like they were just like staring at me, and I was kind of like blocked in because of all the cars there, and it was a really narrow driveway, so I couldn't turn around, so I had to like awkwardly like back up really slow, and they were just staring at me, and I was like, oh great, what a lovely start to the night. And finally the kid like came down the street and got in my car, and he's like, hey, can you drive me, oh, just the poltergeist, no big deal, hey, can you drive me up to Wisconsin, which was like about a half hour away, and I was in Illinois. So he's like, yeah, we're gonna go up to this like bar and stuff in Wisconsin, and I'm like, okay, like I'm 18, what am I gonna do at a bar? So I was like, okay, whatever. So we drove there, and then we went inside, and he sat at this like big table with all of his friends who were all over 21 like him, and they were like playing cards or something. I don't even remember, like poker maybe, I don't know. But they were all drinking, like having a good time, and I couldn't drink, I couldn't do anything. Not that I would have drank if I was even able to, but just like, he was just so inconsiderate, like he didn't even give a flying flip that I couldn't partake in like anything. So I was like sitting there awkwardly, and literally the entire night he didn't talk to me once, and none of his friends talked to me. I was just sitting there like so uncomfortable, like nobody would talk to me, and I sort of made a small conversation with this one guy who was like at least trying to include me a little, but it was like so like awkward and horrible, and like he was pretending that I wasn't even there. Like, why? Like, did you just use me for a ride up here, you little son of a bitch? Like, what the hell? So I'm sitting there, and eventually I'm like fuck this, I'm leaving, this is stupid. Like I said in my previous horrible dates storytime video, this was in the days of the red flip phone with no internet or anything, so I didn't know how to get back home because he had been giving me the directions the whole way there. So I'm like, oh god, I don't know how to get back into my state. Before I was like really mad and about to leave, I said, I'm gonna call you and you need to give me directions, or you're gonna call me or something, you call me. And he's like, okay. So I got in my car and I started to drive away, and like about 10 minutes later he never called me, and I had been calling him and he wasn't answering. He wouldn't answer me, and I'm like, I don't know how to get home, like it's like 11 o'clock at night and I'm gonna die, like I'm always gonna die in these situations. And I'm like, what do we do? So I drove all the way back to the place, and I went inside and I couldn't find him for a minute, but then I found him and I like walked up to him, and I was like crying. I was so upset at this point that he had been ignoring me, and like I was lost and everything. I was like so upset. I went in there and I like screamed at him. He was just like, he was like so like duh. When I went over to him and I was like, hello, you're supposed to give me directions, and he just like stared at me, and then eventually he ended up giving me directions, and I went home, and I was really pissed, and it was horrible. And yeah, that was the story of my horrible date with James Bond. This next one is kind of like a mini story because I don't really remember much, but this also happened in Wisconsin. So if you saw my first video, the boy that we named John, he had another friend who we'll call Pedro. And just gonna put my feet up on the bed there. And so after I lost contact with John, because he always had like, used to call me from like a different number every time he would talk to me. I guess he didn't have a phone and he was like using other people's phone because he was kind of poor, I think. So, I mean, I think that's why, I don't know. But he would always call me from a different number, and eventually we just like lost contact. So like a year or two after that, I was talking to John's friend Pedro. I didn't know if they were still friends, but he was in Wisconsin and I decided to drive up to hang out with him and to go on another first date. And I drove up there and he told me to meet at this like restaurant slash bar that was like down the street from his neighborhood. And so I drove there like about 40 minutes out of my way and I waited there, and he kept calling me to say he'll be right there. And after about like an hour of me waiting there and him like telling me every 5 minutes, oh, I'll be right there, I'm walking down the street, I'll be right there, he finally showed up. He kept telling me he had to go back to his house because his mom was yelling at him to clean his room and all this other shit. I'm like, are you coming or not? And then he finally showed up and our night was very mediocre, if I will say so. And I never hung out with him again. So this next story is going to kind of involve like also mean girls. And I was planning on making a video all about like the mean girls that I've encountered throughout my life. But I don't know how that's going to work because part of that's going to be this story. So when I was in high school, you probably already know, as I've said a million times in my other Storytime videos, I was very, very naive and sweet and Christian and protected from the world. So any type of attention from a boy was like, oh my god, yay, attention. So, you know, I never read into like their intentions, and I was just like, yay, a boy's talking to me. So like, there's this boy, and I'm gonna call him Jack, and I to this day don't know what his deal was. Like, he was kind of friends with my older sister sometimes, and she got very bad vibes from him, and she's a really good judge of character, so I mean, there's something to say about that. I don't know what it is, but there's something to say. I think we had met on MySpace or something, and he started talking to me, and at the time I thought he was pretty cute. He was nothing that I would consider like attractive now, but back then, you know, if you're a boy, you're cute. So he was cute to me, and he was like talking to me, and he was very pushy. Like Jack would always try to like come over, and I remember one day my mom was picking me up from school and I was talking to him, and he said he was gonna come over. Like, he invited himself over for dinner, and I was like, no, don't come over. He's like, yeah, I want to meet your mom. You want to meet your parents. They'll love me. Trust me. They'll love me. And I was like, first of all, I don't care. Like, you're not coming over. I don't want you to come over today. Like, no, you can't just invite yourself over. And how do you know my parents are gonna love you, sociopath? Like, maybe they won't like you. If I don't like you, they're not gonna like you. So he was like being annoying, and I was like, don't come over. He ended up following me and my mom to my house in his car, and he like came over, and I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, what are you doing? Go home. And I think he ended up staying for dinner. I don't remember, but so like, he was hanging out with me a lot, and I considered us to be sort of dating, and he sort of told me that that's what we were doing, like dating. Little did I know, he was like hooking up with like tons of other girls. Like, right after he would leave my house, he would like go have sex with some other random girl, and like he was like hooking up with like one of my friends that I was on the softball team with, and there were some rumors that he did something really bad with her that she did not consent to, and I don't know like all the details, so I'm not gonna like, obviously I'm not gonna say what I think. I'm not gonna like get into it because I don't really know what happened, but I wouldn't put it past him because he was a creep. So like, there's a lot of drama with him, and one time I was mad at him, and I don't remember if this was after like the rumors had started about what he did with the other girl, but he like tried to bring me flowers to my house, and I was like so pissed off at him, so I threw them on the porch and I stomped on them. Go me, girl power. So anyway, call her Katrina. And they were like seriously dating, and then he like broke up with her, and he was like talking to me and stuff. And I was like the sweetest angel baby that there ever was. I was like so sweet. I would never say anything mean to anyone, or even have like mean thoughts about another person back then, because I was just like so precious and protected from the outside world. To my surprise, one day I came home and I had this really long message on MySpace from Katrina saying like, I don't even remember what she said. She was like calling me like a bitch and all these like names that like shocked me to my core back then, because I had just graduated from like a Catholic school, and I was, like I said, a sweet angel baby, and I was like, oh my god, like I've never like fought with another person, especially someone I didn't know. I've never been confronted like or called names. Sorry if you can like see my stupid knee. I'm like trying to sit comfortably, and like she had sent me this like long ass message calling me all these names, and like I don't even, accusing me of things that I don't even remember like what they were, and none of it was true. And I was like so upset. I started like bawling, and I like messaged her back. I'm like, my mom's gonna talk to you, because I was like 14 and she was like 16. So I was like, my mom's gonna talk to you. You know, you can't talk to me like that. Like, none of that's true. Why would you call me this? I never did anything to you. I don't even know you. And then, so she ended up talking to my mom on the phone, and I remember she lied to my mom, saying that I had called her a bitch under my breath at school. And like all these other lies that my mom knew it wasn't true because she knew me. I'm like, how, like, what kind of person do you have to be to talk to someone's mother and like lie to them about their child, like accusing them of like really mean things? Like, I'm like, what is your deal, girl? And another thing I would like to add about this Katrina girl, she always had very crazy hair, so maybe she like wasn't right in the head. I mean, that's what I'm assuming. So I don't want to make fun of her if that's the case, but she was mean-spirited, like, and she always had this big, like, she would tease her hair like really huge, and it looked like a tornado, like literally tornado hair. And I don't know why, but she thought that looked good, but it didn't. My mom was like talking to her on the phone, and she's like, "Don't you lie to me? Like, I know my daughter would never do that. Like, don't make up lies about my daughter." Turns out, like, she was just mad because Jack was like talking to me and hanging out with me and liked me, and wasn't with her anymore. And I think like he got back together with her later, but like after all that, I was like, okay, like, you're both clearly having your own issues. You can go work them out over there. Like, I'm not interested in you anymore. Leave me alone. Like, you're a jerk.
You're a jerk.
And possibly worse. And Katrina, you're a bitch. So that was like my first major like run-in with like a mean girl, and I just remember being like so distraught over it. Like, I printed out everything she said to me, and I like showed my mom, and I like kept it as like proof, even though I never went to like the principal or anything, because it like blew over. I was over it, and she like I never even saw her like after that. And I'm pretty sure like a couple years later she got arrested. It was in the newspaper for like aggravated assault or something. So I'm like, okay, sweetie, go take a chill pill. Jack, I'm pretty sure, is a sociopath. Like, I say that a lot to like describe some people, but I really think that he was. And I mean, I still think that he is to this day. I wish I was better at storytelling, because these things were pretty epic when they happened, and I'm not very good at like, I don't think I'm very good at like portraying just how epic these things were. So yeah. So those are a couple more of my horrible dates. There were a lot more, but a lot of them weren't even like worth mentioning, because they were just flop dates, like bad dates. I hope that you got some entertainment out of this video. Out of my pain and suffering. Maybe I'll do a Mean Girls video. I don't know. If you like this video, please thumbs up, and I will link my part 1 down below.